I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, July the 8th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services, of course headed up by Dakota Moss there in the Exchange Building at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. Are you tired of making margin calls while you're trying to protect yourself? Get an LRP and you won't have to worry about them. Call any of these agents that work with Dakota, including Cameron Floyd from Pawhuska, Oklahoma. For more information, go to livestockriskservices.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, going to have close to 3,000 head up there this Tuesday for the regular cattle auction. They're going to have 500 to 600 head of calves. They'll be mostly 300 to 600 pounds and only about 25% of them weaned. They are going to have 300 to 400 yearling heifers. They do have one deal, could possibly be some keeping heifers, about 40 head of Hereford and Redneck heifers, be weighing close to 900 pounds, be top quality. Most of the heifers are going to be in groups like that. I don't think they have any straight loads of heifers, but they've got 1,400 head of yearling steers and got a lot of load lots of them, including about 250 head of the Ratcliffs. They'll be weighing 9.5 to 10.5. They got a couple deals of 7-weight grazers. They've got 4 loads of commodity type 800 to 900 pound yearling steers. Then they'll have another 400 head of cows there. They will have some running age pairs and a consignment of 50 head of short and solid mouth to aged P2 cows. If you're interested in something like that, get on to DVAuction.com, view and bid Beaver County Stockyards here on Tuesday. Back to business, and I say that not in a way that it's going to be huge numbers, but it's going to be limited to mostly special sales like I told you it would be through the summer months here. But some of the sales up north been going to every other week or maybe even once a month. But when they gang up and have a special sale like some of them are having, it's pretty impressive when they do that. And we are going to start seeing our first summer yearlings in the Northern Plains starting this week, and that'll be impressive to see what they bring. The board was up big on Monday, especially the feeder board, and coincided with the big 5-day week in the Rockies for Superior Livestock, and that is not uncommon. And if I was getting 2% of these prices on 312,000 head at week in the Rockies with Superior Livestock Auction, I sure wouldn't blame them if I didn't give those algorithms a little boost there. But did have a good sale starting out. They just kind of started out in the south central areas of some cattle, but I did see an impressive quote on the first day of the week of the Rockies. It was off the Hughes Farms, be 375 weaned steer calves in Oklahoma to come December the 1st. Now these were home raised, but other than that, there was nothing really special other than they just had their shots. But they didn't have a whole lot of the bells and whistles, but they were home raised and appeared to be pretty good quality. But 375 of those weaned steer calves to weigh 450 pounds in December bring 494. And I thought that was pretty impressive, but it'll be an impressive run all week long out there in Steamboat. But I think there could be a gap in between our index levels late in the week and our board, because I would assume that many cattle selling Superior's week in the Rockies, and all those big outfits and of course your corporates are big supporters of Superior. When they buy those cattle, they're going to be laying them off. They're going to be hedging them. There'll be a lot of hedging pressure this week. And I know it was up big here on Monday, but it's very volatile. It could succumb on the price levels on the board later in the week with all that hedging pressure. And then here we come with an index buster Bassett, Nebraska is going to have their barbecue special on Wednesday. They're expecting over 10,000 head of cattle, and they are some of the best. I talked to them up there Monday, and he said they've got some really fancy cattle. Tell you what, those Iowa farmer feeders come over there, and if you're going and you're taking your children, be careful giving them the barbecue sauce, because it's been known to be tainted. People really get aggressive at the barbecue special at Bassett, Nebraska. They'll be the best cattle that walk, the best cattle in the world, and the highest performing cattle. So, you know, especially those independent feeders, that they will get aggressive, and those cattle will bring some prices. It'll boost the index levels big. Not very many of the superior cattle will actually make the index, because their full delivery period will not be within the 2-week window to make them current delivery. And then with all the hedging pressure, I think it could be kind of a disparage between what your board price is on August and what your index is, or what your CME cash feeder cattle index is. But you might take a look at that later in the week. Talk about the punchy pick of the month. Of course, it's already coming up again. It'll be here before you know it. But we've been having a lot of fun with that. Been doing it quite a while, and we keep doing it. We're consistent here. If we start doing something, we don't stop. And the Kids Corral, of course, is sponsored by Great Plains Livestock Consulting. They do a good job. Guys, get in touch with them. They can help you with your reproduction, with your feedlot, especially you guys that are trying to manage diversified investments there. They can get you lined out. And then the Punchy Pick of the Month contest, of course, sponsored by Beaver County Stockyards and Fairpiece, where you get a whole case of the Fairpiece product, that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven. So if you get a punchy pick just out in your everyday life there, email that to punchy@nationalbeefwire.com. You're automatically entered to win. Let's talk about your board on Monday to open the week. August live cattle up 185 at 215.90. October was up 205 at 212.95. Your back month's up 77 cents to up 220. Pretty impressive board on Monday. August feeder cattle up 422 at 313.72. September was up 415 at 313.52. And then your back month's up from 160 to as much as 420 higher. Grains fell back down there after they was up last week. December corn, new crop down 16 cents at 421. November new crop beans down 28.5 cents on Monday at 10.20 3/4. And then your hard red winter wheat for September down 7.5 cents a bushel at 528.5. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade on a direct basis, negotiated, was 42,800, which is not really too bad for a holiday week like that. It compares to 43,200, about the same the week before, and just 38,800 the same week a year ago. Fat steers and heifers on a live basis negotiated in the 5 area bring 218 to 235. That was 50 cents to $4 lower. Your weighted average on live steers was 229.43 in the 5 area. That was down just 8 cents. So amazing how close to steady it was. Dress sales ranged from 365 to 375. That was steady to a buck higher, but your weighted average on dress steers was 369.30, down 22 cents on the weighted average from the same weighted average a week ago. As a whole, the Southern Plains market was mostly steady, instances a buck lower from 224 to 225. Northern Plains mostly steady from 230 to 234, and dress sales steady at 368. Now nationwide last week, They sold 51,950 head of cattle negotiated. That compared to 52,500 the previous week and 51,200 the same week a year ago. Of that 51,950, there was only about 14% of them that sold for the 2 to 4 week delivery, so we're keeping that down. Negotiated grid sales totaled 29,200 head last week. Forward contracts totaled 9,000 head last week, and formula sales 195,800, which was light for them. Of the 4 out of 5 regions we get information, Iowa had negotiated sales of 17,200, Nebraska 13,500, Kansas 7,700, and Texas had 4,400 head negotiated sales. Box beef cutout values were mixed to start the week out on Monday. Choice cuts $390.98 up 123. Selects were down 91 cents at $377.53. Slaughter, not too bad to start the week here. 114,000, that's just 4,000 less than last week, which was really aggressive because they knew they had a shortened week, but it was 2,000 better than the same Monday a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Limousine and Limflex, you might want to look at that if you're looking to change your genetics. They are focusing on feed efficiency, improved marbling, of course, like always, superior yield grades, and calving ease. Let Limousine and Limflex take you full circle. For more information, go to NALF.org. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood, guys. Your real-time index at the end of trading on Monday was sitting at 313.69, up 64 cents from the end of last week. So it was a pretty active Monday there. It's getting out ahead of your CME cash feeder cattle index, which is sitting at 312.04. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Of course, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards was closed. They took their Monday being closed this week right after the holiday weekend instead of the previous, but they did not have a sale on Monday. Joplin Regional Stockyards had about 6,000 head. Feeders were steady to $6 higher, except for 7 and 8 weight feeders, heifers and steers both. Spots as much as $15 higher. Now your steer calves weighing under 600 pounds were soft. They were steady to $8 lower. Impressive quote that come out of Joplin. They had a lot of impressive quotes, but by far the most impressive quote was on some feeder heifers. 461 head. Wow, one swath. Weighed 807. Those heifers bring 307. Very impressive. How about Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri? I told you about that sale they were going to have on our last visit, and indeed they did have a humdinger there. They had about 3,700 feeders there, and the feeder cattle were $4 to $7 higher. Calves, and they had a lot of bigger calves, feeding calves, or just some middleweight calves, 500 to 700 pound calves that were extremely high in quality and really top consignments there. They ranged from firm to $14 higher. It's just amazing what they bring. I talked to my friend Greg Harrison, who reports that sale for Missouri Department of Agriculture, and he says he doesn't remember a sale where they had higher quality there at Callaway Livestock. And Jack Harrison just put together a really impressive sale. It was your Superior Steel Sales, home of Superior Standard handling equipment there. Stick out sale of the day. And look at this automated market report from Cattle Market Central, and you'll see the best tested weights and be so impressed at their weighted average prices. 303 head of 4-weight steer calves in Kingdom City, Missouri, average 456 pounds with a weighted average price of $439.66. There were 971 head of 5-weight steer calves at Callaway Livestock Center. They averaged 550 pounds with a weighted average price on all of them of $414.15. There were 447 head of the 6-weight steer calves. They averaged 633 with a weighted average price of $384.65. My goodness. Now look at the heifers, which may have been even more impressive. They had 338 head of 464-pound heifers. 4-weight heifers averaged 464, weighted average price $402.39. 607 head of the 5-weight heifers averaged 545 at $378.35, and 321 head of the 6-weight heifers averaging 638 pounds with a weighted average price of $337.39. Now the most impressive quote that they had at Callaway Livestock Center, and I told you that they were going to be there on our last visit, it was the Bobby Simpson's Mellow Yellow Heifers. You remember that song they call them Mellow Yellow? Well, I can still remember the old auctioneer at West Plains, Missouri. I can't recall his name, but he called them Golden Nuggets. He said, you gotta love these Golden Nuggets, boys. He said, you take care of them and they'll take care of you. But they sold, Bobby Simpson had 86 head of 539-pound mellow yellow heifers. They bring 421 and a quarter heifers. Give you some other individual quotes that were impressive all around. How about Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington, Kentucky, the main location there. They had some heifers in there I thought were really impressive. 83 heifers, weighed 625 in Lexington, Kentucky, and bring 351. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day was from an old buddy of mine, J.W. Henson. Sold his yearling steers in Joplin on Monday. There was 125 of them, 875-pound feeder steers, and they bring $321.50. And you can imagine why J.W. Henson was kind of feeling his oats there in this picture. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.